Hello, hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. I am joined by Coach Roache. I'm joined by Beyond the Locker Room. And guess what? The pick is in. Grady Dick was picked. So, with that being said, I'm not going to laugh too hard here. But with that, yeah, how are you guys doing? Sorry, I can't even contain it.
For this entire podcast and future ones, I'll be referring to him as Grady in this case here.
Yeah, that's probably a smart idea.
Pretty much
Uh,
what we talked about before. I tended to refer to him as Grady.
I will
yes.
try to do the same as well. He will be Grady, or I will say his full name, Grady Dick.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or Richard. Grady Richard for me.
Grady Richard.
Yes. People already, Toronto media by and large is going crazy for Grady. So we are seeing plenty of headlines and plenty of fun to be had. Very fun fit, by the way, on draft night. So good kudos to him. Today we're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to talk about just the draft overall. There's a couple things that I noticed that kind of irked me. We're obviously going to talk about Toronto and what they did this pick, what maybe they could have done, and a couple things from there. So before we go any further, though, this isn't a commercial break because I'm not there, but anyone who wants to sponsor me, you know, yeah, please contact. I will. I'll say this. How are you guys? Because that's really important. How are you guys doing?
Tired.
So, a little
For
tired, but it was a good night last night.
the Raptors did select Grady Dick. They didn't really get into the second round. Overall, do you guys want to share your thoughts on the overall? Like, are you kind of? I don't want to say grades, but like, do you? Are you satisfied with what the Raptors did, or do you wish that? Is there something else that you wish happened?
I oh sorry. I I'm really satisfied with what they did. I know that we spoke for the last month or so about Grady and how he would be a very good fit with his team next to Siakam, next to Scotty. And you can't deny that shooting stroke, man. It's beautiful to watch him shoot the basketball, and his form too almost goes behind his head a little bit. So him being 6'7", 6'8", it's a little tougher to block too. It's not like his form is kind of like in front of his face per se. Um, I I am going to give them a letter grade. I give them an A minus to an A, and I think and that's very high for me. I say that because like someone like a Brandon Miller might be like an A plus if they somehow landed him. Um, but I think they've done very well in this draft. I know they only had one pick. Brady can he can answer, or he could be an answer for a lot of their struggles, offensive struggles this year. I mean, when you're 28th in 3-point shooting percentage, and the year before that, when you made the playoffs, when you were fifth, you were like, I think they were about 34% last year, which would have been the equivalent of them being 26 this year. Not very good. So to have a 40% 3-point shooter on this team, and arguably the best 3-point shooter outside of the NBA to come in here and be on this team. I mean, to me, on its surface, this looks like a home run out of the park pick. So really pleased that they went this route. I think it will help Scotty. I think it will help Siakam and just give a different dimension to this team. A little less redundancy. That's what the beautiful thing about this pick is. I can't see how there's any redundant qualities from him. Only him being 6'8". I'll take that. That's fine. Better than 6'4" or 6'2" and stuff like that. So great pick.
How about you, Beyond?
I will say A minus. And the only reason why I say A minus is I think there was an opportunity to get back in the draft. And so many good players had dropped in the second round or late first round. Maybe I'm getting too greedy, but I thought there was an opportunity to get back in there with so much teams with multiple picks. It just felt like just something simple. It could be like Flynn getting moved for a second round pick, and we just go about that. Like, and you may pick up Leonard Miller, is what I'm saying. Like, like there was just there's just that opportunity. Bobby mentioned it at the press conference. They were trying to get back in. How much they were trying to get back in, who knows? But I felt there was an opportunity there. And that's the only reason why I give a smidgen. As for the pick itself, Coach said everything we need to say. Hey, let me tell you something, folks. If you want to find out what's going on in this case, here it comes to the Raptors talk, draft talk, NBA talk, this is the place you need to go. If you want to go back and check out our last podcast just before the draft, we came out. Look, I tell you, we came out like like almost like we were like reading like I don't know
like Nostradamus.
Man, oh man! I went back and listened to it last night. I was like, I couldn't believe how like all the things we discussed. We mentioned that Cam was quiet. Something's going on. We found out the result of it. We talked about it. I prefaced it. I said, and I think Coach as well too. We talked about the guards. But if Gradey's there, check the box off. There's all sorts of things we had mentioned, and it's like you're sitting there going, "Wow." So, yeah, I would say in this case here, yeah, man, you want to find out where you get informed properly about the association. This is where you need to be on Basketball Rewind. So that's my thoughts on it, man. I think that when Coach's point, when you like. When you're looking for someone that has an elite skill in some sort, right? So we talked about Casey when on-ball defense was like his superpower. Man, there is no greater superpower in this league right now than if a guy can shoot 40% in this case here and shoot all over the place. It ain't like a guy spotting up for three. That's the thing too. He, the height's one thing, but it's the fact he can get his shot pretty much anywhere on the court.
100%.
I want to see what his shot chart looks like when the year continues, and we start to chart what his shot diet looks like. Because if I'm right, it should be peppered across the entire court. There really shouldn't be any spot really where it's like, well, he's just a guy who can shoot on the left side. No, he should be everywhere in this case here. Yeah, I am very happy with the pick. I think the way I would sum it up in this case for the night is simplicity.
Yes.
For once, they just did the simple, straight play. And it was wonderful. It's like Nirvana.
But
Absolutely.
Let me ask you guys something. This dates back to last year's 2 draft. Was Koloko a simple pick too as well, based on need? I think he was.
Yes, he was. Granted, I thought that I'd honed in on Koloko for a while. Since almost I want to say January. But yeah, he was the right pick. He was and when he had fallen, there was him and there was another guy that I think we talked about, but a lot of the other people that I liked that draft had gone. And I was like, he was on the board, and I'm like, they need to take him. Which, by the way, I'm curious what happened to Kamagate, who's I think
the fellow for
Denver
or something like that.
Yeah, but he's with Denver, so they have the rights on him still.
Yeah,
so which is a smart move for them.
True. I think Denver's got pretty solid in the center position. I don't think they need to worry about that right now.
True.
No. Only the best center in the world right now on their team.
Only.
Arguably.
Yeah, I don't think it's quite a long time to get some run. Let's put it that way.
Yes. So before I give I guess since you guys are giving grades, I'll give a grade. But I will put the link in the description below for the other video for sure. What I will say is this: I give them a tougher grade than both of you. I give them a B+. Okay. Yes. It's I'm gonna be tough. And the reason why is because they definitely, like you said, Leonard Miller is exactly, remember we watched the draft together, people, and when Leonard Miller fell to the second round, it's like, okay, there's a guy that they can take. We knew that Maxwell Lewis had been worked out a couple times. One thing you mentioned is that, yes, at the presser, Bobby was there and saying that, but here's something that's interesting, and I want to ask you guys an opinion on it. Is it just me, or usually do they wait till the whole draft is finished before they do a thing? Like, this was like end of the first round, they're already doing That's
why I said, how hard are they pushing? That is exactly
right? Yeah, because I'm like, it's like, well, if the guy falls, I'm like, well, the draft's still going on behind you. Right. Like, who's in the back negotiating? Aren't you the guy that is?
I know they'll have people negotiating stuff like that, assistants and stuff like that, but like, it kind of gives off the vibe like we're done for the night type of thing, right? Like you're saying so
Yes.
for the lip service of the media and maybe some fandom to kind of keep them kind of excited. But I pretty much
Yes.
saw him out there. It's like, yeah, it's a wrap tonight, boys. We're closing up shop.
The other interesting thing is this: when the draft was going on, and we talked about this, it's always interesting to see how long teams take to pick. And when it came to like you were saying, man, they're making Wemby wait forever. like,
I'm like, what's Pop doing? Like, really?
like
Pop
he's
never
just like
moved
ready
around.
to get up,
Yeah,
and
I
it's just
forgot the
like, come
clock was
on,
on.
please. But I think the funny thing is,
right over there.
like, are you really kidding me? You're gonna make me do this? Um, sorry. I think in terms of sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about the picks. When it came to the Raptors pick, it was interesting because I thought that they would have deliberated longer. And it was like maybe a minute. There was still like a good minute and 52 seconds, I think, left on the clock. And it was like, all right, pick is in, done. Next. I was like, okay.
But that plays into what we've been saying all along, even during the draft discussions, that
If
we
he's
always
there.
preface it that the guards we always refer to of the guards. You hear it all
Yes.
the time of the
Of
guards.
the guards.
Yeah, we would take them in
We
this
would
order.
take X, Y, and Z. And
Right, but caveat:
yes.
if he's available, it's gonna be hard to pass that up if he falls there.
Yeah.
Everything I think I mentioned too, and maybe Tim did it. I'm sorry, Coach did as well. I think it was. I think we were saying that one or two guys could drop out of the top 10. It was Hendricks or it was Gradey.
Yes, because we knew
Hendricks
that Jarris
almost dropped.
Walker wouldn't. We were nervous, but we
Yeah,
figured he
I
probably
didn't feel
wouldn't be
he'd go all the way
dropping.
that far, but Hendricks was possible,
Yeah.
and Gradey definitely was possible how it was playing out. And that started getting me a little intrigued about maybe 72 hours before the draft. Like, oh, this might be a possibility. Hello.
Yes.
You know,
Right. Well, Koulibaly, Lively, and then Jet. That changed everything too, because you saw their reaction when Jet got
Well,
drafted
yeah.
from the
Jet
Magic.
Jet was like,
They
like I
couldn't.
said,
They
he was like
couldn't.
Tiger Woods winning the Masters, right? Like him and his family,
Yeah,
this is a
they
green
were
jacket.
shocked,
they were
but they were
shocked.
so excited, which is that was beautiful to see as
It was
well.
beautiful to see, but I think even that circumstance that coach is talking about,
Mhm.
we all thought in this case the guy would be there was the other Michigan guy who would be ahead of him in the top 10. So the same scenario would still play out. It just had to be the
Yes.
wrong Michigan
Yeah, because I
guy.
was like, he might go to Washington, for example.
Right.
And it's interesting. I do think, just based on Case and Wallace's first presser, as well as well, I didn't see Kobe Buffkins, but I think Kobe was expecting to be in Toronto,
Yep.
with the reports that came out. But also, I don't know if you did you see Case and Wallace at all? He was
I
like,
saw
yeah,
part of his presser.
yeah. He's like, I'm fine being here.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay. Is fair enough. But
Well,
I do think he's actually happy at least being with another Kentucky guard because he did mention that.
well, yeah.
Mm.
This will go
So
into something else a little later on, another discussion if we get to that point, because I think we have to discuss something else.
yes.
Oklahoma's not Atlanta. It's not
Oh,
Toronto.
well, oh no! I don't want to take away from the discussion right here, but yeah, there's some
Okay.
other folks in this case
Oh
here
no, no.
where
There's definitely that part of it for sure. It's
I'll just say it this way, man. A lot of folks get the chocolate and the flowers out right now
yes.
for the Raptors. Let's put it that way.
Yes, I think that the way that things are sometimes in some places, particularly in certain NBA markets, um, I think that people will be shocked at moving forward. A lot of NBA talent, and we're hearing it already, doesn't mind being here at all. To be fair, so. But with that being said, I'm gonna ask you a little bit of trivia because I came a little bit ready today. And I'm gonna just ask you both to name two potential guys from. In fact, I'll be nicer than I was to my last guest. The 2022 draft players that scored above 40% on 3-point attempts in college and shot more than 5 threes.
So this is the Banchero class, right?
Yeah.
2020.
Oh, you said 2020?
2020.
Who's drafted? Who's drafted?
Oh,
That's
that's Wiseman LaMelo.
Yep. It's also another person that's on this team. Flynn.
Flynn.
So who do you?
He's the guy.
Yes. So yeah. So who yeah, you're shaking your head. Who do you think, if you could name two names or even one name from that draft?
Tyler Hero.
Nope. By the way, this is going to frustrate both of you.
2020 draft.
Over 5 attempts.
Wow,
I'll give you each one test thing
Yeah, you
at
said
this.
it was the Wiseman draft.
Oh, I know who.
I can give you a hit. So yeah, if you can name two names, it's great. So but we'll start with one. Coach.
Desmond Bain.
Yes, he is one. Yes. I can give you hints on a couple.
Let me think. I don't want dead space here, but let me see here. The LaMelo Ball draft. I'm just thinking. Oh my gosh, man! This is like that.
Even get one. Even get one.
That draft is like a vortex. It's like a black hole.
It's a weird draft. It's a weird draft. Yeah.
Okay. Is it one? Okay. Is it one?
Two of them are on the same team right now.
Well, I'm about to say, OKC in this case wasn't on one of the Williams boys.
No. I'll give you a list. From that draft. So yeah, I already said Desmond Bain. Peyton Pritchard is actually one.
Mitchell.
No, actually. Aaron, because it has to be on 5 attempts or more.
Okay, 5 attempts or more. Okay.
So here's the thing: Aaron Nesmith. All right, Tyrese Halliburton, Sadiq Bey, Peyton Pritchard, and Desmond Bain. Right. If you go down the list of throughout the years, I just pulled that random year out, but if you look throughout the years, there's very few people that have scored that and have been on that list, and most of them are in general are going to be or are coveted assets in the NBA and coveted players in the NBA and talented players. Well, Gradey Dick is one of them.
Well,
so that's a fun fact of the day.
That's a fun fact, man. I mean,
50. I think it's.
You know who appreciate that fact there, man? Fat Joe, man. That's his boy.
Yeah. I think Gradey also shot over 56% or 52% on transition threes or something like that. I saw
54%. I think
54.
Yeah.
50 whatever. We don't have that on this team, people. Like even before I get into potential playmaking or defense or anything, it's like anyone who's complaining, because like first of all, I just want to say this guy ain't like, and this is no shade to the man in Florida, but this guy isn't Duncan Robinson. Okay. I think he's not, I wouldn't say a two-way player, but he's like closer to being like at least a average to above average defensively, because of, I mean, again, people, I forget, it might have been one of the no ceiling guy or something. Or maybe it was someone on Sam Vecini. They were talking about how he's not good in pick and roll defense. Okay, but he's not going to be your point of attack defender in pick and roll. Like, why would you do that to him?
Yeah, I think the area you're worried about, and it's early on, and I think it's not fair to really judge this on him, because I think, with the exception of someone like Case and Wallace in this case here, most of the guys are not coming in NBA ready body wise, or like Jarris Walker. Like there's only a couple of guys that have this, like, okay, grown man strength from the moment they come in. They're at the put on, they're at to get on, they're at to get on the program in this case to be ready for it. So yeah, early on, will he get picked on in post ups? Yes, he will get picked on post ups. So, you know, that's gonna happen. So yeah, maybe in late game situations, he probably won't be out there as often because he'll get hunted out. But I think as he starts to get older and more mature and he fills out, he'd be able to hold his own.
I mean, it's also not a Nick Nurse offense, so it's not going to be hyper complex and like all like a high wire act as well.
I'm not worried about that side at all. I'm just talking about defensively, which I know some people.
No, I'm saying, or sorry, I said offense. On defense, it's not a Nick Nurse defense.
Yeah. So they're much more simpler reads. Yeah.
I've never understood the defensive though argument against Gradey because I'm just looking at the numbers right now. He has higher defensive box plus or minus higher than Jordan Hawkins, higher than Keontae George, higher than Jet Howard, higher than Cam Whitmore, higher than Bryson Sabal.
Yeah, for some reason Hawkins on like defense gets this huge like buzz or boost. I'm not saying he's bad defensively. I'm just saying like I don't see the pop defensively for a Jordan Hawkins as much as he sometimes has gotten credit for.
Yeah, Gradey has higher defensive win shares 2/40 than Jordan Hawkins. Not much higher, but it
No,
technically
no,
is.
but yeah. But yeah, I mean the fact is with his wingspan, with his height, with his length,
Well,
and with his I'm changing the term to situational awareness on both ends of the ball. I think that he could be really good. He's a high. I'm straying away from high IQ for a reason, because
I
sometimes
wonder
it's
what.
used negatively. But I do think that he could become a high IQ player. He shows there's a very good foundation there
Like,
and a good
yeah,
feel for the
like
game.
right. That's that last point's the point, right? He's
Yeah.
instinctively knows what he's supposed to do,
Yes.
and you can't teach that, right? That's what it comes
Yeah.
down to. We're learning that very much the hard way with the roster we got right now. You can't teach that, and the thing
Yeah.
is, I think what Darko was looking for is instinctive players, guys that know what to do. If a guy's overplaying me slightly by half a body, I'm dipping to the hoop. Like just
Yeah.
knowing those type of instinctive things. And right now we got mishmash right now on our team where we're going to have to start purging out the guys that really don't know how to play like that, right? Like I think right now, and I'm not sure you want to get into the roster and how he would fit, because it seems like a
Oh,
natural.
we'll get into it in just a second. But yes, I agree. There's like a processing speed
Mm-hmm.
with what they want on the floor on the Raptors. I think.
Mm-hmm.
Case in point would be point five offense, right? It's like you need to make decisions rapidly. You can't be 4 seconds and then right, I'm supposed to pass, right? Too long. It's too long. There's
Mm-hmm.
24 seconds and the clock is running. Yeah, you know what? Well, actually, before we jump into his, how he would fit and stuff like that, I also want to give a shout out to Barnes. Barnes was a happy man. Yes, sir, ski. FaceTiming with this guy right away. I don't know if you guys want to get into Noel, but we can get into that a little bit later, really briefly.
And the other
So
kid too, actually,
did we pick up someone else?
Dez.
Who?
The point guard in this case, 6'4.5" from Arizona State. He's gonna be on the summer league team. So that's something.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
Cambridge is
yeah,
his last
Cambridge.
name.
Right. Yes, I think you guys said yeah,
ASU guy, man, 6'4.5". So interesting. Yeah.
that is interesting. So there is there's definitely going to be some competition on this roster for a couple of end spots, which is what you want. We will see who makes it. We won't get into all of that right now, but before I go any further, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about before we talk about Grady Dick and how he would fit in a different lineups and stuff like that?
No, let's get to the fun stuff, man.
Okay.
I
Personally,
want to come back. May I say, can I go come back the draft after that? Because there's something else that we got to discuss
yes,
once we get into that part. Yes, okay. I don't
yes.
want to leave that alone, but let's get the go. We're Grady all the time right now. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Best Grady in town. So here's the thing, people. I think that this is such a good pick. It seems like maybe throughout the process of the coaching hire, Darko and other coaches, as we've been alluding to, maybe you ask a couple guys, well, what should we need, or what would you do differently? And it seems like this is a little bit different than what we would normally get. I think that that's a good thing, and I think that from a Raptors perspective, you feel a little bit more comfortable because they kind of did the right thing instead of going a little bit crazy here. And by the way, people, I do think his ceiling is higher than people are giving him credit to. There is a pathway to an all-star player. It's a slim pathway, but there is a pathway that does exist. And even still, he would be an impactful player very, very soon, very quickly. This is interesting because him as a pick, it threads the needle between past and present. As you said, Beyond, he's kind of like Scotty's Pirtle now, right? He's Scotty, that's your Yakin skills 2.0, right? And that's a good thing because there's definitely a vibes in there. But he also fits another dude on this roster in terms of his skill set. And what it shows to me is that they're finally, I don't think that they watch this podcast or anything like that, but I think that finally they are doing the right thing and pivoting towards, guess what, your best players. If you believe in Barnes being one of the best two players, which I do, and he's going to be potentially one of the pillars of your franchise moving forward, and then Siakam is your best player right now, you have to maximize their skill set. Gradey does that. I'll let you guys take it from there.
Well, what a concept. Bringing in someone that complements your best player's skill set.
Who would have
Who would have thought? They've only done that for LeBron James his whole career.
If only we all had the brilliant mind of Masai to do that. Jeez.
Oh,
right. But I mean, I'll give them credit that the last two drafts with Koloko and Gradey.
Yes.
There is this. Koloko was brought in. They needed someone 7 foot tall and athletic, can rim protect because they just lacked it last year or 2 years ago, I should say now. And now with Gradey, shooting has been just horrendous for a few years now. And when you have Siakam and Scotty, it's almost like you're building for the same player. You're trying to build around, with shooters and, bringing other players that complements what they can do. So Gradey, arguably the best shooter outside the NBA. And when you watch his form, same every time. It's consistent. It's like Klay Thompson. I love the Beyond comparison. It's great, man. The form doesn't change, and I encourage everybody go watch Gradey tapes if you need to. The
release is so quick. It's like compare. This is not trying to put down any like Barnes or anything, but like Barnes's release recently, it looks a bit more fluid, a little less mechanical, and it looks faster. But then you see Gradey's, and it's just like, like it's just like that, and it's like, okay, that's an NBA release, right? Like it's there today, right now.
Like Beyond said though earlier about shooting is the name of the game. Why did Brandon Miller go ahead of Scoot Henderson? 6'9", he can shoot, right? And I still think Scoot will be the best player available, or the best player maybe down the line. But it's hard to pass up someone 6'8", 6'9" who can shoot 40% from three. Gradey is 6'8" in shoes, and terrific shooter. But he's not just that. He's a very good cutter. He's a decent athlete, probably a better athlete than what he gets credited for. And I know Beyond and I had this conversation last night a little bit about, Kentucky gets a reputation of developing NBA players. Case in Wallace being one going in the draft early. We've had Shea and Booker and Maxey. Well, Kansas has also developed a pretty good program for developing NBA players. Andrew Wiggins, Joel Embiid, Christian Braun, who just played, Mario Chalmers, Grady Dick. Paul Pierce, like Danny Manning, if you go back even further, stuff like that. So I think this is just a good fit for this team. I think it's a good fit for Pascal and Scotty. I think it was the best fit available after Case and Levin. And you can make an argument that Gradey fit might be even better fit than Kaysen as well. If you want to make that argument, I think you could.
I think you can make that argument. Yeah, I think that argument can be made because of what it does is it now shifts the responsibility of more ball handling to number 4. If you pick one of the guards, you can still have your security blanket. It's like, well, maybe we'll give it a couple more. We give you a little bit more in this case here, but we're not sure. But with Gradey, and if things play out, they're looking at they play out the next 2 weeks. he's going to get a lot more of the ball. He asked for it. He's going to get it. So all you Scotty fans out there, you might get your wish in 2 weeks. That's all I got to say about that. We'll get more to that in a second. However, as far as we go with the roster, Gradey in this case here, he also provides flexibility for another scenario that could potentially play out in the future. So that's another thing where you could go another place with that as well too. And the fact that we had to wait this long to finally get someone actually could shoot, I mean, it really just shows a dereliction of duty a little bit by the front office for the last few years. There's been three things that we've been asking for as a fandom, as a basketball group, as journalists, whomever has been when they talk Raptors. Three things. One, we need a damn center. Two, we need shooting. Three, can we get a backup point guard? All right, we've knocked off 2 of the 3. I will hope before end of July we have all 3 covered in this case here at some point. It's not that hard, folks. It's not. And to Coach's point, Danny Ainge sat out for a couple of years and kind of read the room. They loaded up on shooting. It didn't matter what position. If he can shoot, he's coming to play in Utah. Okay, that's all they said. You can shoot, you can play. That's all they said. They weren't messing around like, well, we'll get defensive specialists this time around. Like, no, they got man averages 25 a night already on their team. Sexton's giving me about 14, 15 already in this case here. They got a whole bunch of other guys who can score, and they ended up picking up George when it's all said and done. And I believe
Sensabaugh.
Sensabaugh, right? And they said Sensabaugh. I think what was the first pick they had? Was it
Hendricks,
right?
Yep.
Scoring, and more scoring.
And tall.
tall.
The lineups that they can put up out there where it's just like, what is it, Kessler, and then Hendricks if they want. There's another tall dude that
Markkanen.
There's Markkanen, but there's someone else out there that because they were playing at one point like almost like 3 centers.
Olynyk's gonna move on probably. Right?
Olynyk was the guy in that game. Yeah.
Hint, Masai, hint.
Yes. Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, there is a connection there, people. So there's. There were some teams. I think the Utah Jazz, they were busy, and we don't have to go through the whole draft, but it was definitely interesting. And there's a couple people that fell. Really quickly want to talk about the 2 Canadians that had really, really good draft days today. So shouts to Leonard Miller. I know it didn't go quite how he planned, but he did make it to the NBA, and he hugged on for a little bit. I think the
right team.
Yes.
Playing time on that team.
Yes. I thought he was going to end up on the Nets.
That bad team for him. Like he got the perfect team. Like if you're involved in the second round, a team that's pretty much starting with a blank slate.
Yeah.
That
you can't be mad at all.
Yeah.
And especially like someone young to go along with you know, Wemby.
Yeah, that dude, and he fits Wemby, right? We had a little talk offline about Wemby. Yes. He actually compliments Wemby in a lot of ways.
He does. And then, of course, the other guy who I believe the Kings drafted and traded to, I believe, your favorite team, which would be the Mavs in
conference team.
Yes. Olivier Maxence, I think, Prosper. Which I think Coach has a story. I don't know if you want to share the story now. We can put that to the side. But first of all, I think shouts to Quebec, for really being a powerhouse of Canadian basketball. Apparently,
yeah, they're rivaling Ontario these days, man. It's like, whew.
They are.
I think he was. I mean, he was so fresh in this case coming to Green Room. I think he had to put like a tag on him. You were wondering who he was. Well, no one's talking about him until like 3 days ago. I was like, whoa, what?
Yeah. Are you supposed to be? Is this the right room? Yeah.
Exactly. You go look at everyone's feeds for their podcasts. If you could find more than 5 guys that talk about this guy in this case in the first round.
I think Adam Spinella did drop something like a couple of days ago when he rose up, and I was like, who is this guy? And I looked the night before. I was like, oh, he's kind of nice.
Right. All of a sudden, this dude's like coming to #1 with a bullet. All of a sudden, he's like a top 10 or top 50 or 16, whatever pick or whatever he was. That's like, what? So,
Yeah, I'll quickly
Wow.
say just about the broadcast. This is my little quip or whatever rant about the draft. I really didn't like. I know you're you're gonna laugh at me, but I didn't like the beginning of the draft where they were showing the dudes on their phone. If you're not gonna have Woj tweet out the tweets of like who's getting picked, then and maybe that's how it is. He's just looking over and seeing like, oh, okay, it's this dude that's getting drafted. But it's like by the time I see this guy on his phone and then he's right, and like that ruins
Okay,
it for you. And I know that they
let-
did stop it midway, but like, come on,
yeah, but I
ESPN or
will give
whoever.
them. Okay, I'll push back on this on ESPN's point.
Yeah,
I don't recall this happening in previous drafts though.
them showing that.
The guy getting the phone call. Have you seen
There,
the
well,
call?
there used to be the phone, wasn't there? There used to be like a phone at the round table or whatever. Each table had a phone or something like that.
I always think they had I think they always had cell phones. They just never really showed them answering the phone during the draft. And if they did, it was very rare.
It's very rare. Yeah, because I'm right. Remember before the draft, if I ever saw anyone here talking to the management of the team,
Yeah, like
like,
literally live
yeah,
right before, like as
yeah.
the pick is being called
I'm
or
not to be
whatever.
fair to ESPN. That might be something new in this case here, where it's like, whoa, what's going on here, right? Because
Yeah,
like,
that's fair. Okay. Yeah. Hey, you know what? ESPN, please take note, and
yeah,
be
yeah.
wary of that for the future. Because
After you said so, I started thinking to myself, like, oh, I don't recall even in previous drafts, like like you mean like when Zion was going to get picked. I don't remember Zion having a big chat in this case with New Orleans beforehand coming up in this case to do so.
no, he wasn't on Twitter then. Sorry, sorry, I couldn't help it.
Hey,
Oh,
all
hey.
right, well, that killed that segment real quick.
Meanwhile, back at the rant.
Yes. Commercial break, people.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, back to the which, by the way, Zion is still a Pelican, just so you know, people. And Dame is still on the Blazers. Which brings me to my next point. Do you think that the Raptors are poised to potentially make because there's something that we've talked about with the Lakers and a couple other moves. What do you guys think?
I guess the old saying in this case here, if you don't believe in coincidences, something's going on. I
Yes.
just, I'm sorry. This is for the last 24 hours, man. It's like nagging me more and more. Like you have two teams here that have been rumored around looking at Raptor players in different type of capacities, be it as a free agent
Yes.
destination or in this case via trade. And I find
Yes.
it hard to believe that these two teams all of a sudden, just out of the blue, just had so much love for players. One of them who said they wanted to play in Toronto, okay, and they decided to pick them for
Yes.
a position that last time I checked, they seem pretty filled with at the moment, right? Like
Yes.
and then the other team decides they're going to pick up a point guard too, when already they already figured out their point guard situation already. They had like four guys handling the ball for them last year as technically point guard. Schroeder,
Yes.
Hilo, Reeves, a guy named LeBron. Okay. And you can tell me that I was like, well, now we found our point guard right now. It's going to take us to the promised land. Really? Come on. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. No,
Them
no,
two
no,
boys
no,
going
no.
to get any real time to play?
No.
And then LA went one step further and in the second round, picked the
Maxwell
guy.
Lewis.
Yeah, Maxwell loses for the folks at home in this case here. You check your scorecard.
Yeah.
And they picked a guy, the only dude the Raptors picked to come
Yeah.
in that was not ever discussed to be a lottery pick. Ever.
Yes. No. And
There's no time there was a
he was worked out
Maxwell
like
Lewis week,
twice, I think.
right, twice. There's never a Maxwell Lewis week where we say, hey, this
Yes.
week is Maxwell Lewis in the lottery. No, we never had that.
And by the
Yeah,
way, Grady was worked out twice too, people. So I'm
right.
I'm
But he
fairly
was a
certain
lottery
that.
pick that had potentially,
Yes.
you're right. So it made sense.
Yes.
I was looking for Maxwell Lewis never be in the top in the lottery.
No, no, no. He was gonna be there at like 20 in the 20s or
Right, you
whatever.
had a
So
better chance of Sensabaugh coming to work out for us at one point.
yes, yes.
Like so, right? So like for that to happen, it's like I'm sorry, man. 2 + 2 means equaling 4. Something's going down. That's my theory on it. I may be wrong. We'll be getting the free agency talk later because there is somewhat might spoil the ball when it's all said and done. Because a new suitor has shown up with roses,
Yes. Yes.
Asking you to take the rose from me. We'll see.
Yes. I don't know. Well, I mean, hey, if you want to, we can take it there. If you want to, take it there.
Well, I think considering how the 24 hours have gone, I think it's hard to kind of ignore it. But I'll let Coach get his thoughts on this before we move to that segment of the discussion. But
Yeah, I'm not so sold on the Lakers as a destination for either of our two guards that we've kind of um that's been rumored to possibly go there. I think what came out about Trent's potential desire to want to stay here and have a long-term extension, I think that goes a long way. And then
Yeah.
wanting to keep him, plus his age too, 24 years old, and what he can bring shooting, which we still don't have enough of, in my opinion. Um, and someone who's just been in their system for a few years now. So I don't see the Trent deal happening now. I'm not so sure or sold on the other deal as well. And I say that just because with the new suitor that has come up, as Beyond has pointed out, that I do see more. There's more relevance with that suitor than I feel that there is with the Lakers. I just don't know if the Lakers, what they may have to offer, if that's what the Raptors would want back in terms of money and stuff like that. I think there's someone the Lakers want to give us, and we don't want that player to come back because he doesn't fit either.
Well, I mean, if you're the other team, just to move off from or I guess we could talk about the Lakers for a bit. So it'd be like you're looking at to make the money work. It'd be something around probably Malik Beasley and then one of their two rookies, if not both, potentially. Um, it's interesting for sure. I don't know how interested the Raptors are in Malik Beasley, but I do know that the Lakers want to pay Austin Reeves. There has been more than enough reports to suggest that they want to keep Austin Reeves. There is a limit to what they can offer him up front. They can backload the deal and stuff like that, but they want to keep the man.
but I
So
don't think he's just the only one because they got to deal
he's
with
not the only
Hachimura,
one.
right?
And Rui Hachimura and stuff. So there's a few pieces on that team, and I keep telling people when they're talking about this is no hate against the man in Dallas that just got and arrived in Dallas, but I think that the Lakers have learned their lesson that depth is important in this league. I think that's the
Yep.
easiest way, most politically correct way to put it is that
Well,
all
yeah,
respect to Kyrie, but I think that they would rather gamble on having a deep team and having fail safes.
yes, and I think what you have to realize is like the key is how many two-way players can you find when you get the playoff time? How many guys can stay on the floor in this case and play both sides of the ball? And when you have two of them that young, you're not trying to give them dudes up. Like you gotta find a way to keep those dudes there. And I think they got three of them like that, but I think they only can keep two of them. The other one's
Yes.
a free agent. And
Yes.
believe me, Raptors once again, hint, hint. If you're looking there, But the me, that's the reason why I look at the. I mean, the Lakers team is so deep. If you're a rookie, you're not getting any time on a team that's looking to try to win a championship.
No.
And we know LeBron kids already. That don't mix. So that's not
He's
happening.
year 19, I think.
You're 19 or you're 20. I've lost track now at this
Yeah,
point here.
he's
Right?
coming
Like,
up on 2 decades either way, people. At that
yeah,
point,
you're not trying to
he's
work.
still chasing the man in Chicago.
Yeah,
The
you're
good.
not work. Yeah, you're not working to try to kind of break some rookie in at this point where you're doing high stakes. You're trying to be a conference to a championship level team. Like I'm sorry, that just doesn't happen. I'm sorry, it's not working out. So to me, they got to be used for leverage in this case here. I do disagree a little bit with my esteemed colleague here, Mr. Roach, in this case here, because I do think in this case here that I got people can say I hate on Fred or whatever the case may be, but I think I got a good line of how Fred's personality works, man. Fred likes the moment. Fred likes the big stage.
Let's be
Fred ain't
honest,
trying to
right? Like Fred doesn't hide his cards. Okay,
no, right? And
like
people keep
like. Do you mind if I did? Sorry to interrupt. I'll just say really quickly, like, and people keep confusing Fred's personality with Siakam's personality, but they're both very. You have to give both of them credit. They're both
opposites.
very. They're opposites, but they're also both very authentic with how they present themselves. You know, Fred is very like, you know, show me the money, right? Like he's like, lie to me, Jerry.
Right.
Say it with
But,
me.
but there's another point to it too, which is like it's also a
Good movie, by
respect
the way.
factor. It's respect, right? And what he deems to be respect. So
Yes.
you mentioned the coach earlier on. Small things like in this case, which in this case Siakam could care less about, being the last guy coming out from the for the starting lineup. For Fred, that's a big thing. Fred's not doing it, but Fred is the guy that comes out last in this case here.
I forgot about
Fred,
that.
yes.
Right, because Lowry used to come out last.
Right.
Right.
Right. It would be Lowry, sometimes it'd be DeRozan, depending on the situation, I think, in this case here. But in this case, won't be first, won't be last. I can't remember. But however, I think Lowry was last. But he was last, not Siakam.
I only remember Lowry because he used to do the low slap into everyone. Yeah.
Those type of things mean big things to him. So now if you look at the markets that are interested in him, we ain't talking about Sacramento in this case.
No.
The quote in this case, the body Ventura. This ain't Minnesota we're talking about here, folks. Okay, we're talking about big time markets: Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago.
Yes,
big markets, big stages. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what he's looking for. This
possibly Brooklyn, I think.
Potentially, but I doubt that because I think you want. Listen, if you're making this big change, you have to try to get a ring. You know, if you're Fred, this thing's a Fred. You're not trying to go there and try to work out something with Brooklyn.
Yeah, no, he's trying to solidify his legacy,
right.
But he also
that's why I think Houston is a bit of a stretch. You know, but Houston, the only way I say with Houston would be one difference is Houston show a propensity to get free agents.
Yes.
So that's always the X factor with Houston. But the other two teams, like they're looking to go, they're putting all chips in right now. They ain't wasting time. They're putting in all the chips.
And so you don't think Orlando is
Man, that's small time. They ain't going to Orlando. Fred ain't going to Orlando, man. Give me a break, man. I'm sure you take the kids to see Mickey Mouse, but he ain't going down there to play. No way.
I think also I've also said Chicago for a while because obviously he is from Rockford. But the other thing too is it just makes sense. They have potential. It was a deadline deal for me. But there's some rumors out there that could work for both teams. I'll just leave it at that.
I'm going to throw it up to you guys then because it seems like I think I know which way coach is leaning this. Whose package is better in this case here?
We're probably going to differ on this, actually.
I think we are. So I'll go to you first, Coach. Which package you prefer better of the possibilities? A Bulls package or a Lakers package?
I see the Bulls probably as it's not so much the trade package. I will answer that, but I could see Fred maybe wanting to go back to Chicago. Like this is his last big contract that he's going to get. And why not wanting to go home in that sense maybe could be enticing for him, especially if DeMar's still there as well with Chicago. They're looking to make moves though. They announced on Twitter like the GM's got the green light to do whatever he wants, more or less. But the Bulls package I can see might be more enticing to the front office if it includes Patrick Williams. Lakers can put together a good package with these young players, as you've mentioned that they've drafted and stuff like that. But I could see our front office just being really intrigued with a guy like Patrick Williams for sure if he's included in the deal. You might also have to include Lonzo's contract as well to make the money work.
Yeah. Well, what about you?
Hopefully? Well, the challenge with Patrick Williams is that he's going to be up for an extension soon. So I mean he's had an up and down several years. I think he came on to the end of last year, but he started off a little rockier. So it might end up not like he's not going to get a rookie max unless he comes out guns blazing this year, but I prefer the Lakers package. I think there's a lot more there. I think that there's a lot more interesting pieces there. I don't really get the sense because it's always interesting if you put there's a difference between, I mean, I'm not even going to talk about Siakam right now because he's not a free agent, but if you look at D'Angelo Russell saying, please bring me back versus Fred saying, I mean, you haven't heard much from him in terms of that.
That's why I feel I'm leaning
quiet, right?
Yeah.
I'm not. This isn't me dissing Fred. People is just saying this is.
Uncharacteristic.
Yes, he's someone who he like to talk. He like to go on a podcast or two. He like to show up with Shams, right,
Right.
on national TV. And now when it comes time, you ain't hearing much. You're hearing stuff from the Raptors side, like, oh, they're interested in 3 years, 90, whatever. Okay, but from Fred, you're not hearing much. So to me, I could be wrong. We could be wrong, but I think that he might not necessarily return. And if he doesn't return, in terms of the packages, because I do think that he would to get have his cake and eat it too, he would probably help facilitate a sign trade, and I would prefer the Lakers. It makes the most sense.
I'm with you. I don't even think, with all due respect to Coach, I don't think it's even that close, honestly. Because with the Lakers situation, I don't have to deal with the Lonzo Ball situation.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a clean
I'm not,
break.
because then you don't have to stretch, and you don't have to have Masai explain to the new pension fund.
Right. Why are we
Hey,
paying for a guy to sit on the bench? In this case, you're on crutches for the next 2 years.
or you're stretching him, and it's like we're just putting
It
like
gets messy. You don't want you gotta
half
handle
his
it carefully.
contract on for the
Right.
next like 6 years or something like
Right.
that, and it
Yeah.
gets
You know, yeah. So from that standpoint, now true. Mr. Williams, I think, is a good buddy of somebody else in this case here, so that would make sense. I can understand
Yep.
that aspect.
Number
But
4,
then also too,
FSU.
the fit gets sticky though, because now you're back to that issue of neglect.
Yes.
Which means in this case here, is this for the play that Coach is talking about? Essentially, you're doing the Norman Powell, Gary Trent Jr. situation again.
Yes.
Right, that's what he's saying. It's been fun, folks. Out you go. We'll get the new model at a cheaper price. That's essentially what you're doing. So that could make a lot of consternation with the thing. The Lakers pick, first thing, they got all sorts of stuff in the candy shop. The Lakers got all sorts of things you could pick. Once I'll have to deal with D'Lo,
I'll have a Max Lewis and one of those.
Right. Even I'll take Obama. You know what? If Obama comes, we can move Boucher off, who's a better version of Boucher.
Yeah,
I'll take that. There's all sorts of possibilities to pick here, there, and everywhere.
Or Fred coming back, which is still my opinion. I think that's trying to happen. I'm not saying that I want it.
You just had to go spoil the discussion there with that. I had such things, like lollipops and rainbows and stuff like that, and unicorns.
You were skipping,
floating on clouds, and here you come there.
I know.
Yeah, so
I know. I had to come and ruin it.
That's the other part of the discussion, is that yes, people, and that's why you come to Basketball Rewind, get a balanced discussion. Is that the fact of the matter is that yes, Fred could actually return. I think Samson Folk actually did a discussion recently where he did a mock trade or mock negotiation, and he's thinking very similar, where he's looking at, well, beyond 2 years, it's tough for sub 6 foot guards to really have long standing careers that are prosperous, even if your name is Allen Iverson. And so that's why I think theirs was 2 years, and you're cracking up at 54.
Yeah, because I think Iverson went to Detroit pretty much. He just he became a fossil in about 5 days.
Yes.
That's what I'm talking about.
And then he was complaining about. Wait, was that when he was complaining about his
he moved
Memphis?
off to Denver, right? And he went to Denver, and he went to Detroit, and literally it was a week. It was like,
yeah, it was that. He ended up on Memphis for not a long, not a long time.
That's one of those classic games where you figure out when you say who's in the strange uniforms, like Patrick Ewing in Seattle's uniform, like a week.
Yeah, and it was. I remember. So was he the one that said he had like a gluteus maximus thing because he had to sit on the bench or something?
Something like that. I think it was Iverson. Yeah. Anyhow, please espouse your wisdom about these small point guards. I'd love to hear more.
Yes, exactly. So
like fine wine.
Anyways, the point is that if you could get someone like a Jalen Hood-Schifino, he wasn't top tier on I think any of our boards, but he is interesting because he could provide something. Anyways, there's something there, people. We'll leave it at that. From there, there's only a couple extra things that I really wanted to discuss, which is, I guess, Darko. I'll just say really quickly, it was nice to see him call and have them show that. So it showed the rapport of Darko, building that with the with his players. And I think overall, I think that there's still time for them to make moves. DeLon Wright would be another one. I think Dan Hackett put on Twitter an interesting proposal where, Boucher would go there. Sorry, Boucher, if you're watching, this is not about you. I'm not trying to give you too hard of a time. I'm not trying to give you too hard of a time. I'm just saying,
let my
look,
heart be still what you're about to tell me. Oh my gosh, please continue.
yes, but in terms of like to pay everyone and to keep everyone with the new looming CBA and all that, there are going to have to be costs that are cut. And one of the easiest way to do that beyond cutting Thad or something like that would be using some of our bench assets to address a problem. DeLon Wright would address said problem.
Sorry,
Okay.
bench assets in the Raptors seems like an oxymoron, but continue.
Hey, I'm being diplomatic here, okay? So, in terms of bench assets, and also to be honest, on that team, I mean, just putting it out there, Boucher did say on his own podcast that he wants more minutes. He'd probably get more minutes with the way that Washington's looking right now. So he can have 30 or whatever minutes. I don't know who their coach is, but he could have more minutes there. Keep him happy. He could be happy out there. He's already gotten his money. DeLon Wright could come here. And it's kind of like Bench Mob 2.0, except that DeLon can shoot now. And it answers at least a question, at least in the aggregate, in terms of your point guard situation. So, with all that being said, what are your dream lineups? Ignoring potential trades, as our roster is constructed today, what is your closing dream? Or give me one lineup that you would like to see.
I would like to see, and I've been saying this for 2 months now, I want Scotty at point.
Mm-hmm.
I want Scotty and Gary and OG and Siakam and Purtle. I think, I know Beyond has mentioned this, we have to give Scotty a bigger role. And if he's point guard, anybody who goes to point guard gets a bigger role, more or less. He wants to be point guard. I think there's a concern in the front court with him and Siakam and Pirtle, especially in this NBA today. You put him at point, you might be able to work around some of those limitations, but you got to have Gary and OG out there on the floor. And when you bring on Gradey Dick as well, if you want to go small and you have Siakam at center and you have Gradey on with Gary and OG as well, that's going to be more shooting for to put with Scotty and Siakam as well. So I'd like to see that lineup, but also for defensive reasons, I want to see that lineup. We saw a part of that lineup in the Philly series in the playoffs when Fred got hurt, except it wasn't Pirtle, it was Precious out there. And they had a fair amount of success. I mean, Scotty played on one ankle, more or less, and they still took Philly 6 games. And that's not easy guarding Joel Embiid. So that's the lineup that I would like to see next year. I think it'd be interesting in transition. I think it would be very interesting defensively because Darko's not going to have 1,000,001 defensive sets that Nurse had. He's going to try to, I think, keep it more simple, just based on his press conference and what he said. I don't think you're going to see these guys run into the ground as well. But also, you don't have to worry so much about mismatches with this lineup as well. Like Philly they got a mismatch on Fred in the playoffs, and it was they were able to score. And Kendrick Perkins talked about it on First Take, like the game after, stuff like that. Once Fred went down and Scotty came back, it was tougher for Philly to score. So that's the lineup that I want to see next year. And of course having Gradey in there as well at times to offer more shooting, that will be interesting too.
Oh boy. I have one that I just salivate to see the first night, man.
I'm wondering if we're going to be in sync on this because
Okay, the first night when I see Siakam play with the bench unit, and I get to see Otto with Grady, with OG, and my man CK Oh, good Lord. I'm going to be just sitting there drooling. My goodness. Man, see, I can be out there looking around wondering, like, wait a second, man. I'm out here in the ocean. Damn. Person around me, man. It's going to be so amazing. It's going to be feasting time. And then even defensively, if you want to find a way to hide Grady's defensive deficiencies, he has to play with Koloko almost all the time. That will help a lot because ain't no one messing when he gets beat there. You know, with him like a fly swatter out there, ain't no one gonna be doing that too often. So that to me will be helpful to pair him with with those two guys together, and Otto just to get him out there playing with Siakam finally. And to the coach's point, all the guys can switch for the most part, and you have the bigger racer behind them. Oh, I can't. Oh my gosh, can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah, I agree with it. I mean, people always seem to forget about Otto, but Otto's a good player, and if you can get 50 games out of him in the regular season, like it could make a like I walked someone through it the other day where I was like, Otto would have made a big difference if he was healthy. I'm not saying that solves all your problems, but and then we went through and I'm like, look how many games that like, and this is no shade against no Netflix star, but like replace Bo because Bo Cruz played real minutes, right? Like Bo Cruz played real minutes at some points in this season where he was playing like 15 minutes a game. He's like, I'm asking 15 minutes a game. I'm not trying to break the dude, right? Imagine those 50 and like there's a lot of games that we lost 5 points. Yep. At the end, we were up.
I think we were one of the league leaders in like 5 points or less. We were like right at the top.
And it's like replace those minutes with like Otto Porter, right? That right there. I want to see a lineup of Barnes, Siakam, OG, Gary, and maybe add Otto into there as your fifth. I'd like to see them go small. I'd like to see that. I think it'd be interesting because it's small ball. It's Vision 6'9", but there's a lot more shooting.
Well, I won't get that's a philosophical question, but is small ball kind of dead?
It might be, but here's the interesting thing about if they changed nothing else by and large, ran it back. Let's ignore Fred for a second, just because stature. They are way more versatile now that they have great, you know.
Well, I was about to bring that to you right now. Like, okay, let's play the Fred scenario. Say, coach's dream happens, and Fred is back for the big whopping 3 years and 90 million. I can't believe.
No, my dream's to have Scotty Point.
No, I hear you, but let's just say something.
Yeah, let's just say he's back.
Yeah,
okay, right.
So that means it moves Gary back to the bench in this case here.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to throw this out. I ain't trying to toss shade in this case to the Wonder Twins, but will those two actually get minutes with that team, with his new team?
One would, not both.
One would, but not both.
Yeah.
Even with Fred gone, he assumes someone comes back.
Because if you prioritize the offense, and I'm not even gonna pick one or the other.
I'm just saying
if you're prioritizing your offense and stuff like that, you can only develop. So I keep telling people there's 5 positions or players that can be on the court at a single time. Okay,
48 minutes.
It's 48 minutes for those spots.
Right.
You have to allocate that in a particular way. And sure, I actually agree with Nurse to an extent where I think that there's a portion of every season that you should probably experiment with and see what people have. But I think that period should be like the first like month and a half, 2 months. Once you hit the end of November, right? Once you hit the midway through December, it's time to get serious. And you need to figure out your rotation by then.
Yeah. And I think, I guess what I'm saying is that based on how this team looks now, one of these guys have to get moved anyhow. Because if you look at the team right now, and even without Fred,
but they're not going to do it for that. They're doing it for financial reasons.
No, I hear you, but just even from a pure playing standpoint, if Fred were to leave and you get something back, whatever it is, player A, or even if you get something from the MLE and someone comes in that way.
That's the other thing too, because you noticed in the presser, Bobby brought up, he made a point, and this is the first time I've seen him bring up that in a post-draft presser. He's like, yeah, we're going to have free agents come in next week.
Right. So if you look at that, then I'm sitting here with the rotation. Okay, Otto, that's on the bench guy. Koloko, that's 2 on the bench. Gradey. That's 3 off the bench. That's an 8-man rotation already.
There's Precious too. 9.
Well, now this is where things get interesting,
Yeah,
right?
because that's where the question comes.
More times than not, you're probably gonna play 9 the regular season. So that
Yeah.
now you now have 2 guys for 1 spot at the moment, and that's not counting the MLE guy comes
Yeah,
in.
because
Yet.
Koloko's gonna play. You added
play.
Koloko already, so yeah.
So
And then
he's
if you add
already-
your MLE guy, like you said, that's another. So even
that's
whether
another
it's a,
guy, which means you're
and you
out.
assume it's gonna be a guard.
It
It
could
may
I
be.
hope
not
so.
be, but it's probably going to be a guard. So
I
let's
think
say,
Yeah.
and it kind of has to be.
Well,
Like Nikhil Alexander Walker, for example, right? Like
right,
he's still.
are you not now too guard heavy in this case here on your bench?
Wait,
Because
is this? Oh, right, because Fred. You said Fred's back, right?
right, Fred's gone, but now you look at your bench. If you say
Or Fred's
it's
gone.
NEW, you got NEW, Otto, Gradey, Koloko. You need another big in there.
Well, I mean, I guess because I think Otto can play up to like the small, like he can play 4, the
leg
4.
extremities in this case, the leg injuries, have him playing power forward.
Eh,
That's only
depends on the
that's,
team. If
No,
if Wemby's out there,
that is break glass in case of emergency in playoff scenarios.
okay,
You're
fair
not doing
enough,
that in the regular season in Game 32.
right. So you're saying that's he's more like your small forward and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
Ideally,
he's a small
even,
forward
like,
playing that position.
fair.
Like for the regular season, you're gonna need a big, or when those 2 guys get to play as the big and the other one does not. To your point, I ain't picking
Right,
which one.
because it's going to be Koloko's playing already as your backup center, but then you need another guy to play the spot minutes as well at both either that and the forward, and that's probably how they get their 20 minutes. But
He may play against Milwaukee this year.
who? Which one?
Koloko.
Oh,
He never played once
true.
against Milwaukee last
True.
year until the last game of the season when they dumped the bench on. And because we were on the spaces saying, why isn't Koloko out on the floor right now when they got Brooke Lopez out there?
And Utah was the other one.
And
Yes.
Utah. He never played against Utah. And we were just sitting there going,
Oh my goodness!
What?
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
that was we don't need to. No, that's another rabbit hole. Let's avoid that right now. But yeah, so it's a good. You ask a really good question. I don't really know. I don't have the answer, and you're right. It's probably one of those 2 guys that's probably going like just in terms of a minute standpoint, because someone's not going to be happy. Precious probably will not be happy because he doesn't have his money.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. So to make him happy, you have to probably pick on the younger player and pick him up. And they've talked a lot about development, and I know how Masai's talked about Precious. So they're probably, I don't know for sure. I'm just this is just me thinking out the
and I think honestly, of all the guys with Darko's system that might struggle the most, I think he's the one I think will struggle the most off the top.
Precious or Boucher.
No, Boucher showed playing with that. He can do backyard cuts and stuff like that. Actually,
That's true. When he's told.
Pretty well. Yeah, but fair enough. But he did it. But Chua, I ain't so sure, man.
Yeah,
Chua's style, how he wants to play, like he wants to size things up and then do his.
Oh
thing.
yeah. He likes to.
Right. This is not like he's not making any quick decisions anytime soon. So like
no, that'll be interesting. I wonder if they give it a shot and see it or anyways, that's a whole other we can discuss that another time, just because I know that it has gotten a little bit longer. And so I think overall I think it was a pretty good draft. And just to wrap up just the overall discussion, is there anything else that you guys want to talk about?
I just say where's Banton going to fit in all this discussion? But I'll leave that.
I was just about to say that. Where does he fit in it? In all? Where does Jeff Doughton, assuming that they bring these guys back?
Blake Murphy today talked about Jeff Doughton, and he said that he might be because now you have 3 spots. Also, you may see Ron Harper Jr. converted. But he also may be a 2-way as well again for another year. But they may feel comfortable converting him because his brother is coming up, and his brother is a very talented player.
Okay, well, let's give shout outs to the young man from New York in this case here, from K-State. That is also going to be on this team, and I know and Nowell in this case. I kind of dismissed him last night as he's going to be end the bench 15th guy, wherever the case may be, and that's fine. But he does provide some intangibles that this team could use. He's a smart player. He's a smart player. He can pass. So I mean, I know me, I'm not a fan of small guards. I'm not trying to hide that, but he does provide intangibles, and he's going to be a guy that's going to hustle and work hard. And
Yes.
if you have a guy that's going to play with the other young guys that shows that type of leadership, hey man, props, man. I like to see young. I like to see the quote Dre, man. I like to see young brothers make money. I ain't got no problem with it, man. Still,
I'm just so impressed. Like basketball is a tall man's sport. It just is. It always has been for the most part. And to see someone 5'6", 5'7", whatever he is, like get a two-way contract on an NBA team, that dude's worked his ass off to get where he's at. To be that height, because you have to be in the NBA at his height, you got to have a specialized skill of something.
It's
That's
like
the
Nate Robinson. I look back at him and it's like he is so talented and he had to be to make it for
great
that
athlete,
long. Oh my goodness. He was like people
right?
like I'm not even going to go into a rant that's going to cause like, stir up in the but I think he's one of the most talented
Right.
players ever because he had to
Yeah.
be.
Isaiah Thomas, the
Yeah.
Boston Celtics one, five
Yeah.
foot nine. Like he had to be able to shoot, tough, very, very tough player. I don't I saw Marquise, I think that's his name
Yeah.
in the Elite Eight. And, terrific young player. And I'm just so amazed what he can do at his height, because that is not easy. There's only been a few players in NBA history to be at his height to make the NBA. I don't know how many it is. I know Muggsy made it 5'3", apparently.
Yep. Earl
Spud
Boykins.
Webb, I think Spud Webb made it 5'7", but Spud Webb could, jump out of the gym, that kind of thing. Or Earl Boykins, another one. Man, they someone 5'7" make it to the NBA, that comes around once every 8 or 9 years, more or less.
Yep. Yeah.
Doesn't happen very much.
No. So yeah, no, I mean, again, congratulations to both of the two people that, well, three, that have a shot of being in the NBA. Particularly the one that has a guaranteed contract, and the other two. Best of luck to them. I think you definitely will see, from what I've heard, you will definitely see Nowell on as a two-way. So I think he actually signed his two-way, if I'm not mistaken. And then the other guy is a essentially a camp invite. So yeah. So with that being said, we will call it a close. Beyond already said goodbye.
no, no, I'm still here.
Yeah.
Just as looking to move the dick, get something checked out.
Yes. So and with that being said, it's been good. Definitely like, comment, subscribe. As always, the channel I see is growing. Really appreciate all of the love that we've been getting. And yeah, take care and peace.